topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good morning. Welcome to another Ask the Expert show. For the last 16 years, we have been bringing you the top experts in their field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. We have got an incredible show for you for the next 25 minutes. This show has become so big, we have moved it to our national. Most of our shows are all state and local. We have two other shows that are national. This show has become so popular, we have moved it to a national basis. The first Monday of the month, our attorney Lance Drury also does a show for the Missouri and Tennessee area, and he does a show for the San Antonio area. I just have to say this. We so appreciate people when they take the time to write. We understand that maybe you're having a problem or a family or friends having a problem. And I really don't endorse our experts because I just don't. But this is one of those experts that I truly endorse. We love having him on. Welcome, attorney Lance Drury.
Good morning, Steve. What a great way to start the week, being here with you.
Oh, he's always buttering me up. That's okay. I love it. You can give us more. I have to tell you that the letters that we get, a lot of them have questions. But Lance, there's so many of them just thanking us for bringing a show like this. When you see a national commercial, there's only so much you can say in 30 seconds. And it really doesn't always hold true for everyone. Every case is different. Lance, you know what? I hate to ask you to do this, but we're getting so many new listeners. Tell people about your firm.
Well, Steve, we're a tax resolution firm, which means that we get people agreements, deals with the IRS. We also do it at various state levels. We represent both individuals and businesses. 70% of our clients, if not more, are self-employed because those are the people that get in trouble because the taxes aren't automatically taken out. We have offices in St. Genevieve, Missouri, which is a small town on the banks of the Mississippi. It's where I started after my public defender days in Missouri. We're an hour south of St. Louis. I'll be going to my St. Louis office on Saturday. We have offices in Nashville, Tennessee, San Antonio, and we just started in Houston, Texas, and Miami, Florida is next on the list, Steve.
Oh, you're going to do so well in Miami. Actually, you're going to do well for all of Florida, not just Miami. Lance, how long have you been doing this for now?
Over 20 years, Steve. I've been doing tax resolution work. It's very similar to my public defender days. I've always been on the side of the underdog against the overwhelming power of the federal government and the state government. And, with the IRS, I tell everybody I'm the liberation architect. Most tax attorneys talk numbers. I talk financial freedom. We save people's lives. We save their businesses. We save their marriages. We save their retirement monies. We save their income and assets. I'm saving Fay Ray from the clutches of King Kong, Steve.
I love it when you say that. You know, I got to tell you that I'm not trying to put any companies down. We don't do that here on the show. But I read so many of these Google reports, and you've got so many great Google reports, Lance. But you read some of these Google reports, people gave their money to these companies, and then they would call them maybe a week or two later, never got a phone call returned. They'd call again, never got a phone call returned. And a lot of people even ask for a refund and they still haven't gotten it. I don't, are you aware of that's going on out there?
Oh yeah, the industry gets a bad name because there's a lot of scam artists out there. There's these official notices that go out. They look official. It looks like it's from the IRS, but there's no physical address. There's an 800 number or an 888 number, and it says we can settle for 10% of your total liability, and it puts a number down there, and people are being scammed by these people. I just had a guy in my office once. He had sent $3,000 to $4,000 the day before because they called him up, said he was going to be arrested. He sent it in. They called him again. I said, don't send it in. It's a scam. Give me the phone number. I called him up. As soon as I identified myself as an attorney, they hung up on me. Steve, I tell everybody, if you
Wow.
don't buy firm, there's 3 rules. You hire an attorney that does this every single day. Accountants are great with the numbers, but the problem with accountants is 90% of what they do is tax preparation. They don't deal with the IRS. Tomorrow, all the lawyers in my office are starting with a 3-day webinar. We spend 50 to 100 hours or more a year trying to keep up with what's going on with the IRS. Number 2, go local. And number 3, stay away from the big boys. There's a lot of people, they just take your money, as you said, and then they don't do anything for you.
Crazy. Well, I know how important customer service is to you. Hey, let's get to the questions. I want to get this. This gentleman wrote me. He's from Anaheim, California. He said, I've
Wow.
listened to your show last month for the first time I found it. I'm definitely listening today. I haven't filed in the last 2 years. I'm embarrassed to say. Can I go to jail for owing taxes?
No, but you can theoretically go to jail for not filing your tax returns. You have to file the last 6 years' tax returns in order to be compliant with the IRS. So if you do owe monies to the IRS, you can't even negotiate a settlement till the last 6 years' tax returns are prepared and filed. Secondly, and this happens all the time, Steve, people will prepare the return, but they won't send it in because they have liability and they can't afford to pay it. So they don't send the return in. That is a huge mistake, and here's why. Because the IRS has a failure to file penalty. It's 5% per month for the first 5 months after you don't file, and it maxes out at 25%. Well, guess what? If you have a $10,000 tax liability for a year, that just went up to $12,500, and we're not even talking about the failure to pay penalty or the interest. Steve, if you and I charged what the IRS charges for penalties and interest, we'd be in the federal penitentiary serving time because it is so high, and it can just get away from you so quick. So you got to take care of it because the IRS is nobody to try to mess around with. You got to be compliant.
Here's a great question from Orlando. This is Robert in Orlando. How do businesses get in trouble with the IRS?
Well, they mostly get in trouble with the IRS because they don't make their payroll taxes.
Hmm.
Here's one of the problems. Everybody thinks being self-employed is the American dream, but it's a lot more work. You got to know a lot more rules and regulations. And what happens to a lot of small businesses, they don't make a whole lot of money to begin with, most of them anyway. But what happens is somebody doesn't pay them. And so one of their clients doesn't pay them. And so they pay their suppliers, they pay their employees, but there's no money left over to pay Uncle Sam, and they think they'll catch up on the payroll taxes the next quarter, and it just snowballs. Or they go through hard economic times. Some of these people, just they're great at what they do, but they don't come home and do all the pay. And there is a lot of paperwork. People, before they start running their own business, need to go on the internet, go Google it. How to run a small business. What do I need to know? They need to get educated if they're going to run a small business, because it's a different ball game, and you have to have a different mindset than somebody that's a W-2 employee, because you're dealing with risk on a daily basis all the time. So, you got to be used to that. You got to have a different mindset than the average individual.
Here's another great letter. Chris in Tampa. I really enjoy your show. I've actually listened to your show in other cities. I have learned to really trust what you say. Can you explain to me what really is an offer in compromise?
Of course, an offer in compromise, you have to submit all this paperwork. It's a lot of work. If you try to do it yourself, you probably got a 10 to 15% chance of being successful, because it's confusing, it's complicated to the average individual. But an offer in compromise is a process to get your tax debt resolved while you're going to pay less than the full amount back to the IRS. And so, I'm a little hesitant to recommend an offer in compromise to somebody that has not been compliant for several years, because if I get the offer accepted by the IRS, you have to be compliant for 5 years, or guess what happens to the offer? It all goes away, and all that liability and all those penalties and interest keep coming back. But most people want an offer in compromise. The problem is not everybody qualifies. I have to tell you, Steve, in Nashville, Tennessee, and a lot of people know this, Nashville is now the place to be in the Midwest.
Yes.
People are coming in from California and all other kinds of places, and they're paying $200,000 over the listed price for homes. So everybody in Nashville has a $750,000 $1 million home. And so that knocks them out of an offer if they've got a lot of equity. Maybe 2% of our clients in the Tennessee area qualify for that. So, but there's more than one way to skin a cat, Steve. There's also what's called a partial pay installment agreement. That works like an offer in that you're paying less than the full amount, but it also works like an installment agreement in that you're paying it off over time. So we do a lot of partial pay installment agreements in this office.
This is from Chris in Davie, Florida. I read on Facebook your show is coming on. I'm so glad I found your show. What are the negatives if I try to negotiate with the IRS myself?
Well, they're probably not going to negotiate with you. And the reason I say that is that people come to me all the time after they thought they could do it themselves. They called up the IRS. They got an agreement, and then they sit down across from me, and the first words out of their mouth are, "I can't afford the monthly payment." And I'll go, "Then why did you agree to do that?" And they said, "Because this is what they told me I had to pay." That's not true. They take advantage of lay people. And so what happens is they're just going to have you pay every last dime, including penalties and interest. What they don't tell lay people is this is all based on your ability to pay it back. And here's the other problem. If you're going to negotiate on your own behalf, you're going to have to submit financial statements sometimes, and nobody fills them out correctly. They're confusing. They're complicated to the average individual. And that's where you get the biggest bang for your buck in hiring my firm. Sometimes we have to go through those financial statements and financial documentation 3, 4, 5 times. We got to get the numbers right, because our taxpayers are submitting those numbers under penalties of perjury. And secondly, Steve, guess what? You give us bad numbers, we're going to give you bad advice. So we got to get the numbers right.
Here, this is Tracy in Boston. She wants to know, she said, I am self employed. I have not been paying quarterly. Am I going to be fined or penalized for that?
You could be, yes, because they're due quarterly. And the other problem is, I don't know how your business works, but if you're on a commission basis, just take 25% of that commission check and send it to Uncle Sam. But make sure you put the current year on there, or Uncle Sam's going to apply it to the back taxes. And so, yeah, you can get in trouble. But the bigger problem is if you wait till the end of the year to pay your taxes, the money's going to be gone. You're already
Right.
going to have to spend it. And so, Steve, just as an example, I get a lot of realtors because realtors have 4 times the national average of tax problems. Because
Mm,
guess what? In the first quarter of the month, they get a commission. They don't send in an estimated tax payment. Nothing in the second and third quarter of the month. The tax becomes due then at the end of the quarter. And guess what? They've spent all the money. So this is how they really incur a lot of tax liability. So the solution is just send the money in when you get it, because if it's sitting in your bank account, guess what? They can levy it. And secondly, if you're making those estimated tax payments, that's an allowable expense in determining your ability to pay on the back taxes. So let's say you're sending in $1,500 a month. Well, that's $1,500 less a month you're going to be able to pay on the back taxes. The biggest
right.
mistake self-employed people make is they think they can do this themselves. They call them up, they set up an installment agreement for the full amount, and they're paying on that agreement, but then there is no money left over to make estimated tax payments for the current year. So the liability just pyramids and their problem just gets worse and worse.
I think this is probably my favorite question, Lance. This is from Nina in Jacksonville, Florida. How is your firm different from other tax resolution companies? That's a good
Well,
question.
yeah, as I said, here's how we're different. I'm the liberation architect. The people in my firm are freeing people from the financial strangle of the IRS. We save people's businesses. We don't talk about numbers. We talk about financial freedom. We get people's lives back. We give them their peace of mind, and we go the extra mile for people. The president of the American Society of Tax Problem Solvers, and I'll listen to him tomorrow because we start a 3-day webinar with them. He has said, if you're not spending at least 9 months on your client's case, you're not getting them the best possible result. There are practitioners. They'll get a financial statement from you. They don't question whether that financial statement is right or not. They just take it and they call up the IRS. Well, you're not going to get the best possible deal. Those financial statements are confusing. They're complicated. The average person is not going to fill them out right. That's where we spend the bulk of our time. That's where you get the biggest bang for your buck when you hire my firm, is in those financial statements, because we got to get them right. We have to get them right for the reasons I previously talked about.
Larry in Tulsa says, thank you for taking your time out to answer our questions. I just want you to know we appreciate you. My question is, who qualifies for IRS Fresh Start program?
Well, that's sort of a misnomer. The IRS Fresh Start program is just a term of art. It's not really a program. They did initiate it. They raised the level at which a lien could be filed from $5,000 to $10,000. They also made it easier to get an offer in compromise. But as I stated earlier, the game is played the same for everybody. You have to prove that you don't have the ability to pay it back. I just can't call them up and say Joe Blow's a great guy or Nancy Newbarn's a great woman. Give them a fresh start. I wish it did. I wish I could be Monty Hall and call them up and say, let's make a deal, and wouldn't have to spend all this time. This is why I spend every Saturday and Sunday, because I'm trying to get people the best deal possible. Steve, Saturday, I'm going to St. Louis. And right now, Saturday afternoon, I have an appointment with two gentlemen. Their business owes $500,000 to Uncle Sam.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's hard for an individual to have income tax liability in excess of 100,000, but it does happen. But for payroll can go up real quick.
Absolutely. Um, Phil in Chattanooga, he says, will an IRS payment plan affect my credit?
Well, it might with a bank and all that. You're probably not, you may get a loan. A lot of lending institutions, they won't give you a loan until you have an agreement with the IRS. But, it's more of the liens will not be disclosed now in your credit report. So it's not that you get an agreement with the IRS, but it's the liens. And once the lien is filed, that's a matter of public record, Steve. It's filed in the recorder of deeds office in the county of which you live. And there are people out there that compile lien lists and they send them out to practitioners like myself. They sell them that so that we can go out and then send them a letter and see if they want to call us for a free consultation and to see if we can help them with their problem. So, but you can't even put the lien on a credit report anymore. But if somebody does their due diligence and looks it up at the county courthouse, then they can find out that you got problems.
I want people, there's a lot of scams out there, and I want people to know because I get these robocalls all the time from tax relief companies. And I got to tell you, they're as far as I'm concerned, they're all scams. I mean, they're on a robocall, and what we're trying here to do here is we are giving you the finest tax relief attorney in the United States that's not going to rip you off, that you can see by the answers that Lance gives you on this show how important it is for him to help people. And, here's a gentleman that doesn't have to do this. And here he is expanding his business. And I got to tell you, I really appreciate your practice, Lance. I think I know this has got to be hard on people when the IRS is coming after them. I mean, that's got to be probably the worst thing that could happen besides someone's bad health. And I think about all the people that you're helping. Do you ever think about that?
All the time, Steve. I got to tell you, I got an example. A woman years ago, she was so terrified when she would get the mail from the IRS, she wouldn't open it. And she came to me and she was shaking and she just threw the letters at me and says, "Here, you open them. Let me know what's going on." But you have to realize people are going up against probably the most terrifying agency in the federal arsenal, and all the rules of the game are in their favor. And so that's why you need to have somebody that stands between you and the IRS, because the IRS is going to take advantage of you if you try to do this on your own.
Lance, tell people now how they can reach you. And you've got a website also. We have people who are listening on radio right now that cannot see the YouTube. Tell people your phone number, how they can reach you, and your website.
Well, I have various phone numbers, Steve, but go to my website. All the phone numbers are there. It's lancedrurylaw.com. You can find all kinds of great information there. So go there and you'll see how the firm is doing and all the information that you can get and all the phone numbers to contact us.
I got to tell you, there's so many people, Lance, listening to podcasts, YouTube, radio, and I got to tell you, when you have people saying that your show isn't long enough, you've got something special. And we are I can't tell you how pleased I am with this show. And I'm so glad you're with us. Thank you so much And we're going to see you soon with your San Antonio and later on in the month, your Missouri and Tennessee show.
Okay, Steve, it's always a great pleasure to be with you. Thanks for having me on your show.
Stay healthy, my friend. We'll see you soon. That's attorney Lance Drury. Folks, I'm telling you, if you've got a tax problem, a relative or a friend that's got a tax problem, have them give Lance Drury a call. That's it for us today. We'll be back again with you next week with more Ask the Experts.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.